We want to talk to our next guest, Chad Laprise. He's fighting next weekend at UFC Winnipeg. I know he really wanted to fight in Edmonton, so I'll be sure to ask him about that. And he joins us now on the TSN MMA show. Chad, we spoke after your last win earlier this year. You really wanted to fight in Edmonton. Now you're fighting in Winnipeg. Is it good to have a fight in Canada this year?
Yeah, I'm definitely happy to be fighting back in Canada. Anytime the UFC offers me a fight there, I feel like I'm going to be a Canadian guy, so I will definitely accept it.
I mean, the only difference is it was 23 degrees in Edmonton, and it's going to be minus 15 in Winnipeg. But, can't win them all.
It's definitely going to be a little colder there, but I think I think Galore will be suffering a little more than me coming over there from England.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
So with Galore, I mean, this is a guy who only has one UFC fight under his belt. He defeated a guy who has no wins in the UFC. Do you think he's biting off a little more than he can chew here?
He's in for a whole nother level when he fights me. I have more fights in the UFC than he has fights. Period. But he's definitely he's a world kickboxing champion. He's a world point fighting like karate style champion. So I'm definitely not taking him lightly. He's a super explosive athlete, but there's definitely levels to this game, and he's going to feel it when he faces me.
He might be the most unorthodox striker in all of the UFC, really. How do you train for a guy like that? Do you bring in anybody with a similar skill set, or are you just going to be Chad?
No, I absolutely put in the best training camp. I can guarantee you that anybody who's ever fought Galore put in. I brought in the best point fighting karate guys, the best taekwondo guys. Every week, day in, day out, sparred. I probably sparred 1,000 rounds getting ready for this fight, just to familiarize myself with that style, right? So I put the work in, and I 100% learned some little techniques, and you know what? It actually made me a better fighter. So I'm really looking forward to going against this style and shutting it down.
Yeah, my co-host Joe Valtellini, he's not here with me today, but he defeated Raymond Daniels, and he often says that he feels people need to look at what the rather than fighting against point karate guys, they should look at what the template should be to beat guys that are good in that skill set. Is that something you've done?
So I actually watched some of Joe Valtellini's videos and watched his fights with Raymond Daniels. I've actually trained with Raymond Daniels before as well, right? So. And I watched when Nikki Holzken fought Raymond Daniels. So I've watched on how guys shut that style down, and I've also brought the guys in and been able to shut them down in the gym.
Well, that's great. I mean, who are some guys that you brought in to train for the specific fight?
Yeah, so my main guy, his name is Tom Roberts. He's like a 14-time world point fighting karate champion. And him and I trained every single day getting ready for this fight. And he'll actually be coming out to Winnipeg with me to a corner. I brought a guy, Jason McIntyre, in from Sarnia, who's a Taekwondo guy, and another guy from Toronto, Matt Ross, who's also a national level Taekwondo sparring partner. But Tom Roberts, he owns a karate school here in London, and he was one of my main training partners for this fight. And then he'd also bring in his students for me. So I got tons of different looks from my different guys.
Well, nobody can accuse you of not doing your homework, I suppose, after this fight.
I guarantee you, I put like I said before, I put in the best training camp that anybody has ever put in to a fight Glor Bufado. Like I said, the guy doesn't have the experience that I have, but I'm not taking him lightly at all. There was no stones that were unturned in this training camp.
I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about Georges St-Pierre. On Thursday, he vacated the middleweight title. He's a fellow Canadian. I believe you've trained with him at times at TriStar. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, I've trained a ton with George.
Yeah, so he drops the middleweight title. What did you think of his decision? In terms of what it means for the sport and his rationale, which he doesn't want to hold up the division. He's got there are young guys like Kelvin Gastelum and Robert Whitaker, who he named by name when we had spoken to him. What are your thoughts on his decision?
It just shows what kind of person George is. Awesome for him. He could definitely sit on that belt and wait around for as long as he wants, but he wants to give it up and let the new guys come in and make some money. You know what I mean? So awesome. He's such a class act, and George doesn't know anybody anything. George should do whatever George wants to do. So happy to see him vacate the belt, and hopefully he'll come back again for one more big fight.
Yeah, do you think that happens? And if so, who do you think would be the optimal opponent for George to? I mean, if he's only going to do one more fight, if he, it can be anybody. Is there anybody that stands out to you that would be a huge money fight for him, or something that will help elevate, I guess, his already legendary status?
Yeah, I personally, George can do whatever George wants to do, but to see him and Conor in a big super fight would be pretty cool.
That's a name that keeps coming up, is Conor. I think that would be obviously be a big money fight. Do you think that that's a fight Conor would want to do? I mean, George will be much bigger than him, unless maybe they fight at a catchweight 160, 165.
Yeah, and you know what? George is really not that big. Like George wasn't even really big for welterweight, so he could definitely do a catchweight or even fight at welterweight. But no, I think if George and Conor win, that George's grappling is just far superior.
I mean, you're a bigger guy that's fought at 155, and you're staying at 170 now, from what I understand. In terms of your size compared to George, do you think George could cut down to 155 pounds and try to seize 3 championships?
Yeah, for sure he could. There was times when I was in Montreal and I was heavier than him. He's super lean. He's a super lean guy. But I was walking around heavier than he was sometimes, and I was fighting at 55. So it's definitely possible, but it's all on what he wants to do.
Well, am I right about that? You're not looking to fight at 155 again? You're enjoying having a full body mass at 170?
No, I feel so much better fighting at 170. I'm 1 week up from weigh-ins. I'm only 10 pounds off weight, eating like crazy. My energy levels are through the roof, and you're going to see it in this performance.
Yeah, well, really looking forward to it. I mean, this card in Winnipeg is absolutely fantastic. There are a lot of Canadians on it. When you look at the main event, that's at 170 as well. You look at Lawler versus Dos Anjos. Who do you think has the advantage in that one?
That's a great fight. That's an awesome fight, and I'm fans of both guys. I'm really fans of both guys too. So I don't know really who will win. But after my fight, I will be sitting in the back in the green room watching for sure.
It's kind of a showcase of talent at 170 pounds, because you've also got Ponzinibbio versus Perry.
Yeah.
And that's, we look at Gaethje Alvarez. It's that sort of fight. It's going to be 2 guys that are not going to be afraid to pull any punches with legitimate one-punch knockout power.
Yeah. I think Ponzinibbio is a little more technical, though, and if I was leaning towards somebody, I would lean towards him.
When you look back at your season of the Ultimate Fighter Ultimate Fighter Nations, rather, there's a lot of good talent that has come from that particular season. You've got yourself, you've got Elias, you've got Olivier Cajun Johnson has looked great recently. Would you like to see another season of the Ultimate Fighter that focuses on Canadians, whether it's against Australia or another country? Yeah,
it was awesome. There's a ton of good guys who came out of there, even Jake Matthews, Dan Kelly, even guys on the Australia side too. But it was my foot in the door for the UFC. That was 4 years ago when we filmed that show. So it'd be awesome if they could do another one, especially for there's so many good young guys coming up who kind of just need a break. That's the spot I was in. I was 7-0 at the time and just needed a break, and that's what happened for me.
And you look at TKO being back on the map. I'm sure a lot of the guys you train with at Adrenaline have had an opportunity to fight there, or will have an opportunity to fight there. Yep. Does it seem like it's a renaissance period for Canada?
Yeah, for the TKO show, it's awesome. I have 2 of my teammates fighting they're fighting there tonight. Colin Bakey is fighting tonight, and Jesse Lawson fighting for the lightweight title. So it's a great show, and it's definitely promoting guys around here. Yeah, you won't want to miss that. That's on Fight Pass as well as the Fight Network. Yeah, so if you want to watch it, and of course, our TSN analyst Robin Black will be calling the action as the color commentator, along with John Ramdeen, who's just so knowledgeable of the sport. Well, thanks so much for joining us, Chad. We really appreciate your time and your opinions on the sport, and we really look forward to seeing you perform against Galor Bufando. Should be a fun fight, a very interesting fight. Thank you very much. Appreciate talking to you. That was Chad Laprise. Always love speaking to him. Great to hear his insights on the Georges St. Pierre situation.
C'est ça, garde les jambes collées, tire les talons, contrôle. C'est ça, vas-y, à l'équilibre, à l'équilibre. Reviens. Ah! Ah! Allez, that's it. Bien allongé. Hop, contrôle, reviens, ramène. OK. Ah, shit.